Welcome to this short video on the Renaissance Research Project. We have been working in Unit 3, and when you click on Unit 3, you will see that this is the page that, or the screen that will come up, okay? So we've been working, we finished up Chapter 7, and now we're working in the Renaissance Research Project. So when I click on that folder, in this folder is everything you're going to need for your research project. Here's the assignment itself, and we're going to talk about this in depth. You also have your project guidelines and best practices for presentations. One of your assignments is to submit a project proposal, so everything you need for the project proposals in this folder. Another assignment is an annotated bibliography, everything you need for that assignment in this folder. And then, of course, the actual presentation that you will do. And obviously, we'll be doing those virtually. So everything you need is in that folder for that presentation. All right, so let's start off with the actual assignment. So, first of all, you're going to be researching something that's interesting to you in the Renaissance time period. Okay? You can pick anything. The only thing you cannot pick is the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci, because that is what I focused my sample presentation on. So that one's off limits. You'll be completing a project proposal, as I mentioned, an annotated bibliography, and a presentation that covers your research on the topic. You will not be submitting an actual research paper, but instead you're going to include the required information in a multimedia project that will be presented in a virtual classroom. The purpose of this project is to demonstrate you've achieved the following learning outcomes, and feel free to take a look at those. All right, so you will select one topic that you would like to pursue from the Renaissance period, and you have to think about what big point do you want to argue about that topic. Maybe it is a person that you think made an impact on not only the Renaissance period, but on the world itself. Or maybe there's a certain artistic technique or art form or invention that was relevant not only then, but still now. You could research that person, you could research that artistic technique or art form or the invention, or use that information to help support whatever that big point is you're making about the topic's impact and importance. So this project could be considered part history, part biography if you actually choose a person, and part critique or analysis of the impact of your topic to the Renaissance. You have to approve your topic and thesis statement. That's going to be submitted for approval within that project proposal, and you wait for my feedback before you move on with that project, because if there's a problem with what you're proposing, you don't want to already be working on your research and your presentation. All right, you can work individually, or you can work with another person or two from this class. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to set up a discussion forum in which you could post a response that everybody can see, saying you're interested in blah, blah, blah. Is anybody else interested in working on that topic if you would like to work with someone else? Sometimes it's kind of nice to work with someone else because you can divide the workload, and when you go to present, you're doing it with them. Since we have things like, Google Drive and Google Slides, sharing information and everybody inputting information is so much easier. And there's all kinds of different options for, meeting and talking and that sort of thing. All right. So that's a decision you're going to have to make. So guidelines and requirements for this assignment. Well, you're going to submit a project proposal. It's worth 50 points. So the highest you can make is 50. The annotated bibliography is worth 50 points. And then the presentation itself is worth 100 points. So as a whole, this is worth 200 points. Okay. So it's like, two two grades, right? Like 2 grades of 100 points. All right, so the project proposal. Before you begin your project, you'll write a preliminary proposal for your topic. This will be a typed document, obviously, and you're going to submit it electronically. It should be at least 200 words. It will propose the topic for the research, what you plan to explore, the questions that you seek to answer about this person and their work, your preliminary knowledge of this individual or artistic technique or art form or invention, whatever you've chosen as a topic, and how you plan to persuade your audience that your topic made a great impact on the time in the future. Once the proposal's approved, once you get that feedback from me, students will proceed to the next step of the process, all right? And you'll see those due dates on your course schedule. The next thing that you'll do is research, okay? And you're going to find 5 sources that potentially can help you prop up your point or help you support your point. So for this assignment, what you will be turning in is an annotated bibliography where you'll be documenting the research you used to complete this project and explaining the purpose of each source while exploring their credibility. You'll provide all of the main sources, biographical and historical, that you utilize for your project, and you'll be analyzing 5 of them. The sources you annotate must be credible and reliable. Okay, so this is not Wikipedia. All right. You may use more than 5 sources for your final project presentation, but I'm going to be requiring 3 to 5 sources for that presentation. You can use all of the sources you found, or you can just merely be using 3 to 5. Make sure that for your presentations also, if you're adding in videos or pictures or whatever, you've got to have those documented as well. I will be providing information for you virtually since, we're not going to be discussing this in class. Students will submit a hard copy and submit it in Blackboard. Again, the due date's on your course schedule. And then the presentation, the part most people freak out about. It's not going to be that bad, all right? There will be a minimum of 10 slides with a maximum of 15. You should include at least 3 to 5 sources within the presentation and also listed on the works cited page. Proper MLA format should be used. The grading rubric will be posted in Blackboard in the research project folder for the presentation, and the guidelines for the presentation will be posted as well, including suggested content. So then I've provided you with some possible topic ideas. These are sample ideas. You are not required to choose one of these. You could come up with one of your own that you want to get approved with me. And if you are going to come up with one of your own, I would suggest you email me that idea so that we can either say, yes, that's wonderful, or no, it's not, before you go through the trouble of writing that proposal. But these ideas below might help you develop an idea of your own. Okay, man's view of man. That's something that we see in the Renaissance period. Leonardo's contributions to the Renaissance and its values. If you skip down, the effects of the printing press on Western society. Gender influences on Italian portraiture. So a famous work of art that addresses the historical time period of creation, the history of the artists and the influences surrounding them, and a critique of the artistic form and the work of art. So these are just some leaping off places. Okay, feel free to do something, some variation of this or some unique idea that you have. All right, so let's take a look at the project guidelines and best practices. All right, so I've given you kind of a checklist, if you will. I would say that we need to be using Google Slides because we've got some opportunities with Google Slides for presenting and uploading and that sort of thing. Okay, so I would use Google Slides or an equivalent program. There's 10 slides minimum. The most you can have is 15. In these slides, you're going to be defending your thesis. You'll need both a title slide and a works cited slide. If you use photos, recordings, film to enhance the presentation, you can find those things on the internet, but don't forget to cite the source in correct MLA format. Each slide should have no more than 4 bullets. And for those 4 bullets, there should be no more than 2 lines per bullet. So no more than 8 total lines. You don't need to use a complete sentence. These are talking points that you're going to be bulleting, and then you will expand on that information as you are giving your presentation speech. Your presentation, again, 10 to 15 slides, probably not more than 5 to 7 minutes. You can have your presenter notes, and there are ways to present where you can actually see your presenter notes. Those are there for you to refer to, not necessarily for you to read. We don't want a presentation where you're just standing there reading to us, okay? We want you to know this information. So you're going to want to practice this presentation beforehand until you know that information enough that, you can just comfortably talk about it. Have your presentation saved, possibly in a couple different formats, so it's going to be easy and accessible when it's time for your virtual presentation. Then I've tried to give you an idea of, because a lot of people say 10 or 15 slides, what am I supposed to be doing? So I've kind of given you a rough outline of what your slides might be. And again, these are merely guidelines. These are not set in stone. They don't even have to be in this order. It's up to you, okay? You should have a slide that'll be the topic slide, right? And it's got the name of you. And if you worked with other people, their name as well. The second slide should give kind of a brief summary or overview of your topic. You might need to include a brief background or a brief history of the topic chosen. And it might take you more than just 1 slide. It might take you 2. Your next slide after that maybe is where you present your thesis statement, that big point that you're going to argue about the topic from the Renaissance period and its impact. The next 3 or more slides are where you would present your main points that support that thesis, with bullets discussing, the supporting ideas. That's where you would maybe incorporate some of your research, remembering to cite it correctly on the slide, and then make sure it is on that works cited slide as well. Another thing, after you finish the support of your thesis statement and presenting those points and their support, before you end this, I want you to tell me something interesting that you learned, or something that happened during the course of this project, or something that you will take with you long after this assignment is finished. That next to the last slide should probably be a summary and a conclusion. What conclusion have you come to? Based on, you've supported that thesis, you've proven it to us with your points. What is the ultimate conclusion for this presentation? What is that big ta-da there at the end? And then, of course, your last slide of the presentation will be your works cited slide. And you might have more than 1 works cited slide, depending on how many of your sources you have cited within that presentation. All right, some things that will create grade deductions: not being prepared. Your presentation isn't complete. You didn't upload it properly, and we have to spend 5 minutes trying to do that. It's obvious when you're not prepared for a presentation. I don't have ESP, I extrasensory perception. I'm not psychic, but I know when you're prepared and when you aren't. There's a difference between being nervous because you're presenting and being nervous because you have no clue what you are doing. Make sure that you show up for your presentation. Make sure that you don't arrive late or leave early. I'm going to try my vision. And again, this being virtual, this is going to be a very new experience. But my vision is that we will have a presentation group. So maybe we have, 3 or 4 presentations in a group, so that you have the opportunity to see some other people's presentations, which is what we'd have in the classroom. So bear with me because I'm trying to do this in a new way, but still trying to give you that same experience that you would have in the classroom. So, as I think of things, as I realize things we need to know, I'm going to be sending out more information. All right. I will be putting it in the appropriate folders in this Renaissance research project. Make sure that you should sound interested in what you're saying. So we should not hear this monotone, the Renaissance was an important period. It doesn't even sound important. You don't sound excited about this. If you don't seem like you care about this topic, we're not going to care about this topic. So make sure that you are not in that monotone, like you could care less or would rather be anywhere else. When I say that the speaker stumbled, what I mean is it's okay to lose your train of thought. It's okay to any of those things associated with being nervous. Okay. I do it, even having to record these lectures and not being there face to face with you. I do it a lot. I do a lot of things I normally wouldn't do. So those sorts of things are okay. But when you stumble verbally because you don't know this material and you are lost, that's going to be obvious. That's what we're talking about. Don't act like, don't be prepared. Then you don't stumble. Then you don't, seem like you don't know where you are and what you're doing. Make sure that you're paying attention to other people's presentations, especially if you're grouped with other students. They need your attention, okay? And so, again, I'll send out guidelines of how we're going to do this virtually and whatnot. So that gives you some guidelines on what to do for the presentation as far as creating the presentation and what the best practices are. Having fewer things on your slides, and those are just talking points, and you fill in all the blanks. That's what we're talking about. So that is that document. All right, so let's go into the project proposal folder. So this is the actual location you'll be using for submitting your project. I've given you a template, okay? A template is just kind of a guideline. It shows you the format, all right? So you've got your last name and page number. Everything's MLA format. Nothing has changed. Here's an appropriate MLA heading. Here is a title, all right? And you probably want to put something a little more creative than this. But if you just put proposal for Renaissance Research Project, it'd probably be okay. Now, the key parts of a proposal are a working title, okay? What is your working title? Here's where you would actually put in your title of your paper, what you're thinking of. Your introduction, and this will probably be the longest section of your proposal. Your introduction or your background and rationale should describe your proposal in a narrative that is both interesting and informative. Explain why your project is important and why the audience should take your work seriously. Include a tentative thesis statement, sketch out preliminary lines of argument you've identified, and briefly summarize your research plans in this section. The research question is the third section. This is where you're going to report that main question or the questions that you hope to address with your research. This is vital to a good research project. You have to know what you're looking for and what you're trying to address. The description of the methodology. If you'd already have a preliminary answer to your primary questions for research, for example, ethical relativism is self-refuting, include it here. At this stage, though, it's more important that you have a clear and focused question and questions more so than a thesis, since your research could turn up evidence appropriate to justify rejecting a thesis that you present acceptable. Your plan of work and your time schedule, okay? Now, I am going to add in here, I'm going to change the wording of this document, of this section, because I do want to see your thesis. All right, so it's just very simple. Remember, it's a minimum of 200 words. So this is not lengthy, okay? This is just kind of getting yourself thinking about what you want your topic to be and why you want that topic to be that, and what research, how are you going to approach it, and what are you hoping to prove. Okay, let's take a look at and I will probably put a sample in here because, as I said before, this is ongoing. So I will probably provide a sample for you if I have time to pull one together. Anything I can do to help you understand what it is we're talking about with this project, you know me by now, you know I will do it. Annotated bibliography. This is some annotated bibliography information. And let me see if I can show you, wrong one. Here is a sample one that I did and added in some comments. So again, you're formatting it in the MLA format. Now, on a works cited page, all right, normally you would have this, right? You would have the source, complete source information, okay? You're still going to have that. And then you're going to have this whole section where you write an overview of the source and the key points addressed in the source. So you're going to need to pull these source, actually find your sources, and not only have, you know, this citation information that we normally have for a source, and notice a hanging indentation. And I'll probably do a whole video where I talk to you about finding sources and how to cite them. But then you have to skim that source at best, if not read it, and in order to create this summary, okay? You're going to talk about an overview of what this source covers and the key points addressed in the source. Now, the whole purpose behind an annotated bibliography is to get you to find your sources and work with them, actually read them and understand them enough that you can create this paragraph on them. So notice some things. You've got your hanging indentation, which means this is left aligned. This is indented over any line after the first line. And then your actual annotation of that source is going to be indented over like you're starting a paragraph, but it goes from this line over. And then you have every line after that lining up with that margin, okay? The only thing out here is the source information. All right. The second source is handled the same way. You've got the hanging indentation, it's over to the left. Every line after that's indented for the source. Then you indent for the paragraph indentation of the annotation and come back to that margin. All right, page 2, you have your last name and the page number. As soon as you finish one source, you start another. Notice everything is double spaced. All right, let's see what other sources. All right, I've given you a template, okay, which is basically that same document, but in a Word doc so that you can actually fill your information in. You would put your source here, you would put your annotation here, okay? So when you're ready to do that part, it's already formatted, okay? So you would highlight this, delete that, copy, paste yours in. Okay, delete this, copy, paste yours in. Change all of this to accommodate your information. So hopefully that will make it a little bit easier. All right, then let's go back and let's take a look at the virtual presentation folder, okay? Now, this is a link to a sample presentation, and I did just throw it together yesterday and this morning. So there's a lot that's missing, okay? So when you click on that, it's going to take you to my presentation. You can see the little arrows and the little information telling you what you're looking at, okay? Now, for each of these pages, you will see the presenter notes. And in those presenter notes, I tell you what I have done on this slide and what I would be doing in my presentation. Okay. You see the thesis statement slide. Again, I told you Leonardo da Vinci and Mona Lisa are off limits. Here is my something interesting. Here's my works cited, and this is incomplete. Okay. I need to add several things to that, and we'll be doing that. So, but this will give you kind of an idea about what I'm talking about. Mine ended up 12 slides, just for reference. I've also given you information if you don't already have a Google account. This is information from Distance Ed on creating a Google account, using Google Drive, and then of course creating, uploading, and sharing your video in Google Drive or YouTube, and how to do, and these three, okay, creating a Google account, making Google Drive better, and sharing presentations, all from Distance Ed. That's their document. And then this is information on how to do in-text citation in MLA. Okay, so a lot more information will be coming, and we'll set up some more things in Blackboard for you. As I add new materials, I will send you an email telling you that. Remember, you are in Unit 3, the Renaissance Project. Here's your assignment. Here are the guidelines. Both of these documents are crucial to you making sure you know what you are doing. Now, let's take a look at our schedule for this project. I'll be uploading this later. And this is incomplete, but week 10, next week, Renaissance Project. Of course, it's assigned this week. So next week, which is this week 10, you will be working more on the assignment. Your proposal will be due Tuesday night. Your annotated bib will be due Friday. And then the presentations will be the following Tuesday. You'll be submitting those, at least a link to that, by 11:59. I will have a sign up by next Friday, so that you can sign up for presentation time. And again, this is in the works. This is me re-envisioning everything. So I can't tell you what presentations are going to be like as far as time frame, location, all of that yet. So please be patient. All right. You will have multiple options for signing up for a presentation time. We will probably do it in something like Blackboard Collaborate or Zoom. And because I would like to do these in a real-time format so that I can truly be with you when you are presenting. Okay. So again, this is all, in the vision stage, and I'm still trying to work out all the details. And with technology, there's so many things that we can't anticipate. So bear with me, and more information will come, but you need to get started soon. All right. Thank you for joining me.